part of that effort was working closely with industry personnel so that it's not academia saying this. We're trying to come together with one voice and hopefully make it easier for producers to implement synchronization protocols and other reproductive management techniques.
Welcome to the Beef Podcast. Today I have Dr. Sandy Johnson from Kansas State University. Sandy, welcome to the show.
Well, pleased to be here.
Sandy, I guess for the listeners, viewers, can you give a background of, what you do at K-State and, even touch on, how you got there?
I was, grew up a farm kid and probably would have liked the opportunity to go back home, but given those things were occurring around the time of
Yeah.
farm crisis, why it just wasn't going to happen. So what do? You go to school a little longer, and um, so I kept furthering my education, and part of that education process, I stopped over and worked as a technician at the University of Nebraska West Central Research and Extension Center that you're familiar with, and that really helped me see where I could fit in this system in terms of practical information and practical research and educating producers. And so that helped me find my way on the academic path. And as I look at, what I try to do every day is how can I help producers improve their bottom line, solve a problem. That's what I'm about. That's what makes me feel good, is to be able to help somebody else with a problem where I have some expertise to do so. And of course, along the line, we figure out that producers teach us a lot along the way, and sometimes I'm sharing things that I learned directly from other producers. But um, so I appreciate that interaction that I get with producers and the day to day beef industry.
We tend to forget sometimes that producers are a wealth of knowledge and, that experience they have, even though they may not have a Ph.D. necessarily, they've got a wealth of knowledge that can really help if we just sit down and listen to them. And so, the PhD is just a piece of paper. It's the experience, and we learn a lot from those experiences.
Right.
So, Sandy, we'll move over to the topic and talk about the Beef Reproduction Task Force. Can you tell me what that is?
Sure. That was something that came together just kind of as I was getting started at K State. And at that point in time, there were lots of things happening in the world of estrus synchronization, both in dairy cows and beef cows. And um, every breeding season, we're learning something a little new. And, people were hungry for that information. And there were lots of questions, but one of the challenges was even communicating about what somebody did, because they heard about the MSU sync or the XYZ sync. And then you said, well, tell me what that is. And well, they couldn't quite tell you what it is. So it's hard
Uh-huh.
to troubleshoot it. So there was lots of changing, hard communications, and just really a need for a educational effort. And so probably starting originally with some North Central regional project type things. Um, a group of us came together and said, "How can we work and provide a unified message on the extension side?" And it was also a group that was very active in research, and so that is kind of what got us off the ground. And um, Dave Patterson, Daryl Strobene were probably really key players in terms of getting. Um, they had some good vision to lead that, and the Iowa Beef Center had worked on the Estrus
Uh-huh.
Synchronization Planner before our group came about, and so they wanted to incorporate, those current recommendations, whatever they were to be, into the Sync Planner, and so that uh, yeah, came together, And so we've just tried to grow from there. And part of that effort was working closely with industry personnel so that it's not academia saying this. We're trying to come together with one voice and hopefully make it easier for producers to implement synchronization protocols and other reproductive management techniques.
Oh, that's great. There's always a lot of challenges with sync protocols, and because one, there's so many of them. But I think one of the benefits of the task force and especially the Iowa Beef Center putting that together is that you have better guidelines of when to give those shots of certain drugs. As you know, there's a lot of times there's a lot of mess ups of giving GnRH or prostaglandin at the wrong time, or flipping those around, and you fully have dealt with that a lot in your career as a reproductive physiologist.
You bet. I just had a text earlier today about IM and sub-Q delivery. And it's easy when you're not working with these products routinely to get the GnRH and the prostaglandin products confused. And I get that totally. And so fortunately, what we've been able to do with the planner now is that you can select, you know, what product you're using. And so when you print it out the calendar, it's going to say Lutalized or Estramate or
Mhm.
Factrel, whatever the product is to help you. You know, you still got to carry the right thing out there, but shoot side and deliver it. But,
Right.
that's just one little step to try and reduce errors.
So you briefly talked about this. Is what is the planner?
Yeah. So the Estrus Synchronization Planner is an Excel based tool. And essentially, it allows you to say, what kind of system do I want? Do I want to do a lot of heat detection, some heat detection, or no heat detection? Am I using conventional semen or sex semen? Am I breeding cows or heifers? Do I have any Bos indicus influence? And so you kind of make those choices, and then it gives you a shorter list of things that we would like you to choose from first. Now, there's lots of things you can do, but really consider these first. And so you um, select a protocol, and then you say what time of day, the date and the time you want to start breeding, and that time becomes most important for those single
Mhm.
fixed time inseminations. But then it shows you a calendar, and if you're supposed to start fixed time day I at 2 a.m., the idea would be, oh,
Mhm.
maybe I need to think about this schedule a little bit more. And so it's all about planning.
Mhm.
Don't plan time day I on grandma's birthday if everybody's supposed to be there. Uh, you know those types of things. And with the longer protocols, and it's really helpful to have an automatic counting of the days because physiologists are the only ones that we have a unique counting system because of how long um, you know how long things are in and how we account for them in our thinking and settings. So
Yeah.
we try to get by the our terminology and things by making it easy for you. What day do you want to breed? Let's go backwards and put it on the calendar.
And that's a tremendous resource, especially for someone that hasn't maybe utilized reproductive technologies
Hmm.
much.
Hmm.
And you talked about some of those longer synchronization protocols, 14-day co-sync
Hmm.
or even MGA,
Right. Right.
right? And so those challenges, because they are a little bit longer out there, of how do you manage and when do you give those shots within that
Hmm.
can be areas where error come in and play, right?
Right. And we have a very cleverly named multi-group version. So with the original version, it generates a calendar for one group of animals.
Mhm.
But the multi-group version allows you, say you're breeding both cows and heifers or multiple groups of heifers, and you want to make sure your days are not conflicting. It allows you to put them all on the same calendar. And you could put additional dates on there, like this is when we're um, doing a reproductive tract score or a Bangs vaccination. Add some other things in there to really get a bigger picture. So um, for veterinarians, AI technicians, those could be really that version can be very useful.
So outside of the planner, what does the task force do?
So, our focus is educational event, education in general. All right. So we've tried to address that in several ways. One is our website, beefrepro.org. Secondly, we have well, before we had a website, we were doing our applied reproductive strategies in beef cattle meetings. When we first started, we did as many as three of those per year. Now we're kind of on an annual basis for a face to face meeting. This year we'll be in Athens, Georgia, September 4th and 5th. Um, and the thing we've also added is a monthly webinar. We do that. We've been doing that the first 6 months of the year on a variety of different topics, and so the webinars as well as most everything from a lot of those past meetings are all archived on that website, and so um, there's just a lot of good stuff there
Hmm.
for people that are interested in reproduction and want to expand their knowledge.
So for someone that wants more information about that, just go to the Beef Repro website.
Right, beefrepro.org. There's a way to contact us through there, a couple different ways, and would have the complete details about the upcoming program. You should be able to link. There's a link for webinars. You can see those, and we have a YouTube channel. I'm not sure what way is easier for people to
Hmm.
find things to start with, but for me, it's easier to say go to beefrepro.org and look around, and there's just a wealth of things there.
For a maybe a young reproductive physiologist or scientist that's getting started in his career, how do they get involved with the Beef Task Force, Repro Task Force?
Right. So we have a system put in place now that we are, I think, every other year we're recruiting new members, and so we've been sending out requests to be involved, usually to department chairs to try and get uh, you know, pe- we send it to people we know, but then we,
Mhm.
we, we may not know that newest young faculty member. And,
Right.
and so then they can apply to be engaged with that. And um, hopefully that is certainly one way. And then we like, as we're aware of somebody that's doing research work in that area, we're going to try and get them on our program and do a webinar, those types of things. So if you feel you're a little obscure, then it's just network a little bit with the task force members. They are listed on the website. We certainly want to we're about synergy of ideas and
Mhm.
education, and we need a smaller group in order to maybe do some logistical things, but we got a lot of producers that could use help in education, and we want to leverage as many people as we can in that effort. And so if they're interested in being involved, please contact one of us and look for that call coming through department chair, but we encourage involvement.
Sounds good. So back on the topic of synchronization, and so there's always some newer synchronization techniques, changing of when timing of different drugs are utilized, etc. But what are some of the results people are seeing with using synchronization? What are some of the challenges why they may not use synchronization, or why they should use synchronization?
Well, if we look at some of the NOMS data, why people don't use AI or Estrus synchronization, it's usually time and labor
Hmm.
issues. And when we first started this effort, we were very much focused on minimizing the number of steps, and probably for fixed timed AI, three trips down the chute, with the third being fixed timed AI, is probably the best we can do.
Mhm.
And if you go back in history ways, as we've looked at trying to improve those, one approach was to take a kind of a pre-synchronization approach that the dairy industry has used, which adds more steps. And George Perry worked on a protocol, the PG 6 day protocol, when he was at South Dakota. And so we looked at that and said, well, it's four steps. Nobody's going to want
Mhm.
that fourth trip. Well, time has gone on. People have gotten good results. People have worked more on pre synchronization stuff. And so now they look at this 7 and 7 protocol that
Yep.
is an additional step. It's got an additional injection. It's not a huge cost, but again, it's some additional cost. And people that have been using AI, they seem not worried about that at all at this point. They're very comfortable with that one more
Mhm.
trip down the chute, and that may be a message to those that have been, I just don't think I can make it work. Well, here's people that have been making it work and made it work, that they think, well, I'm willing to see if I can improve my response with an additional um, trip down the chute. And
Mhm.
so again, that is a pre-synchronization type protocol. And one of the challenges we have with getting everybody grouped up in some of our shorter protocols is varying response to that GnRH injection, and what stage of follicular growth are they at when we start that protocol. And so the pre-synchronization is an attempt to improve that synchrony of where we're starting out, and trying to improve the overall response to the protocol and the number of females that show estrus. And we've seen a very good estrus response with the 7 and 7 protocol. So that's good. We don't consistently see higher pregnancy rates with that, and I don't have hard data, but my guess is maybe in some cases we're seeing a few persistent follicles that we're not getting them turned over in the system. And again, not everybody read the book on what we want you to do when we give you
Mhm. Right.
GnRH. And so we're always going to have some of that. And, um, but we think there's some really good options for people to use. And you think about what we can do with genetics today, that, you know, the world is your oyster with, really what's out there. What's your ability to put things together and market a product?
Yeah. So what's the future look like for synchronization?
Well, in the near term, we keep tweaking on some of these things on the synchronization side, but I don't see big leaps and bounds there. If we could figure out some of these sire things a little bit better, I think um, that would give us another notch of improvement. That we've got a lot to go there, but I think we finally got more people and more effort on that. And basically, we've spent, oh, a mere fraction of the time we spent studying the female
Yeah.
on the male side. So I think we have a lot to learn, and if we can do some of those things, that may really help us more than a few hours here or there on a system.
So when you say sire side, and are you talking about from a semen side of that? Or I know there's a lot of research now on the bull, just the bull side of managing bulls, bull development, and that impact on semen. But on the, are we discussing AI from some kind of a genetic component of those?
I think all of those things really. We've had a little work on bull development, um, but we're having a little bit more now. In our assessment of semen quality, we there's a lot of things we can't tell. We know we have bulls that they'd pass normal BSE, and one of the
Mhm.
things is they may not freeze, they may not sort. I don't think we have any idea why those things are. Just some of them won't, and maybe we'll figure out systems to overcome that. But I don't think we have that right now. And then we see some sires that probably um, live longer in the track, so maybe work better
Mhm.
with a timed AI protocol. Well, we think we're seeing those things, but but we need so many observations from a single sire, it becomes challenging. So then we got to add this genetic component in there and see if we can understand more about the genetics of semen characteristics. And
Mhm.
there's just um, a lot of areas on the male side that we just we haven't had the people for every maybe one person was working on the male and 50 are working on the female side. Well, we got a long ways to go to catch up on the male side. And of course, yeah, I could say some sexist things here, but anyway, um, not always the cow's fault when conception doesn't occur.
Yeah. So I recently heard something a little crazy on how long semen can live in the track, and I'm not sure I believe it because it was a very far out number that someone recently have found. So, is there any new research going on that of, of think about some of these heifers or cows that, you know, that may cycle after, after fixed time AI or something, that some of these longer lived semen may have the ability to increase pregnancy rate or conception rates. So, is there research looking at some of these bulls that could have that?
I think at one point they were working on some of these. I don't know if microspheres is quite the right term, but some type of slow release packaging. I'm not
Mhm.
sure that that went anywhere per se, but I have to think some of those concepts could still apply. And I can't really claim to be up to date on, packaging of sperm cells, but we've certainly talked about those concepts and appreciate my ideal world is apply topical semen and a little turkey roaster comes up when she's pregnant. I think that's pretty far out there, but um, that's what we like is something fairly simple, easy to apply, low tech, all those things. But reality is a little bit different.
It is. It is. And so there's multiple different aspects of what could cause that pregnancy not to occur with AI, right?
Yeah, and one of the interesting things that some of the people looking at pregnancy loss right now is, identifying some of the sire's role in that. And yeah, again, I'm not sure we have yet to be able to identify sires ahead of time to make any management steps, but we're starting to learn about that so that maybe we can identify some of these sire differences. And
Even I've always been intrigued with, and this is not AI, is that why are some of these bulls breeding 97% of the cows in the pasture and they're covering, you know, high number of cows more than you would expect. And so getting after libido of, the bull costs are so much, and if you've got a bull that's only breeding 3% or less of the cows, that's that bull never pays for himself.
right, and part of what some of the data would address this, but if two bulls both cover the same female, somebody's going to win out in that conception.
Hmm.
And as we have, recently talked about some of these heterospermic packages of sperm, then that was designed originally really to determine fertility differences in bulls, and so it is the fact that this sire sired a higher percentage of calves in that herd
Hmm.
because he covered the females or because There was something different about semen characteristics that
Right. Yeah.
maybe his semen have a big hammer and knocked out the others. I don't
Right. Right.
know from what that would be, but I don't think we understand that part at all. Um, and if we look at another ruminant species like the sheep, I mean, generally we're using one ram to 100 ewes, and um, there's a older study in sheep where they essentially tethered the ram, and I don't recall how much pasture was available, but the ewes all got bred even though that ram was tethered. And so, do we need to learn more from the sheep?
Right.
The challenges as we look at those things is, it's very expensive if we don't get cows bred, and so
Right.
another bull is maybe good insurance because the cost of not having that there
Yes.
can be extreme. So,
Well, yeah. One bull per pasture scenarios scare me,
mhm,
and I've seen a lot of train wrecks when guys went down that route and had low pregnancy rates.
yeah, even when you think, well, we tested bull, we're watching, we
Right.
thinking everything's fine, and it
Yep.
doesn't turn out as well as we would like. So,
It's time for our famous three.
Well, Sandy, to wrap us up, I've got a couple of questions.
okay.
The first one is, what is your go-to or your highly recommended book or resources for beef production?
Yeah, so I would have to express my bias in our beefrepro.org site, but I also rely heavily on the extension sites of my
Hmm.
colleagues in surrounding states. I would not uh, want to fail to mention those just from a standpoint of good production information, and we never can have it all. So appreciate the as we work together to help producers.
Great resources for producers, whether or not the extension services and the Beef Reproduction Task Force website is a tremendous resource that even I have recommended it thousands of times for producers to go to. Use the calendar. That planner is a tremendous resource for producers to help with setting up their um, synchronization strategies or what strategy fits them
Hmm.
and their need. And so our last question is, what sets apart a successful beef professional?
Well, for me, as I think about that, that professional is going to have two parts of them, perhaps, if we can look at that way. For me, one part is academic,
Hmm.
but the other is my interaction with the beef industry and um, understanding the challenges of producers and trying to figure out ways that what your part of the industry is, in my case academic, how it can help producers. And so whether you're um, selling feed or um, custom harvesting, you got your technical part, but then also understanding the challenges of that individual that's trying to do the day-to-day stuff. And so to me, it's those putting those together in a successful fashion.
It's great, great. Well, Sandy, thanks for the time to jump on here. Great topic, tremendous resource for producers. I think a lot of people would get a lot out of this, and hopefully they'll steer a lot of people towards the website and maybe uh, head to Athens, Georgia this September.
You bet. We'd love to have them there. And again, if there's a way to contact us through the website, we try to answer as many questions as we can that don't get shuttled off into spam. So
All right. Thanks, Sandy.